Very good morning to everybody. Welcome you on our Vidyadaan webinar. Yes, on Sunday morning, we are here on the World's Poetry Day with a poet, a writer herself on this special occasion. Yes, today we are learning about the art of writing on this special day of World Poetry Day with Miss Deepika Murthy. Miss Murthy, she used to call herself, Pika Nani, herself as a child. She wanted to become a writer and realized this dream with her first book, Little Indians, Stories from Across the Country, in the year 2013. When she's not writing, she can be found talking about writing to children in various schools. She grew up in Mumbai and now lives in Bengaluru with her family. And a lot more about her is what we are going to learn in this session today. Ms. Pika Nani Urf Ms. Deepika Murthy ji, I welcome you here on Vidyadaan platform.
Thank you so much for the wonderful welcome. It's wonderful to be here on a Sunday morning and on the special occasion of World Poetry Day.
Yes, ma'am. Congratulations to all the authors out there, and of course to you also, as you have been working hard on writing. For me, if I talk about writing, it's an art.
Yeah.
It's not a technical thing, right? And it includes creativity and your imagination. So how do you explain writing in your way?
Writing obviously is a lot of creativity, as you say. But when it comes to writing a book, I think most people don't realize there is a lot of structure, organization which goes into it. Think of it like, say, building, you're constructing a building. So you need a good foundation, which will be the good idea. That is completely creative. But when you're building up the story, the plot, the various characters you're going to create, and where you're going to set your story, like is it in India, is it now, is it Mumbai, Bangalore? So all that requires a lot of planning, and you have to prepare your story properly. Otherwise, you could get stuck in between. So structure is necessary. Of course, everything begins with creativity, but there's a lot of structure that goes into it. The way you formulate the book chapter by chapter. And then obviously the creativity comes in again for the stories and the dialogue and how you write the scenes. So yeah, it's a mix of, I think, both, but it's just not enough to just have a great idea and you say, oh, so there is enough. I think I can say this for all writers. There's a whole process that we go through when we're writing something.
I'm sorry, I was on mute.
Yeah.
Because when I talk about writing, for me, it's like more, it's like more of a creative thing. And for the first time now, I'm getting to know it. There is a lot of structure, which comes in the technical, technical terms. That is also required.
Yeah.
So that's a new information that we have learned today. Wonderful. So let's start with your journey. From the childhood, you wanted to become an actor, a writer. How did it start? How did you get that, a sense in yourself that, yes, I want to be a writer or something?
Pooja, when you introduced me, you were saying about Pika Nani, right? So when I was just maybe not even 5-6 years old, I started writing poetry. So, and I would call myself Pika Nani. So Pika Nani, for me, obviously Deepika was Pika, and Nani was, I used to call myself Deepika Rani. In those days, we didn't have these Disney princesses. So that was, so anybody would ask me, what's your name? I would say Pika Nani. And around that age was when I started writing poetry, just simple like cat, bat, and that sort of simple rhyming things. And I got a lot of encouragement from my parents. My father actually used to write in Kannada and all. So I think I got inspired by that. So when I was very small, I would write. And then in school, also I realized I started writing short stories. In school, magazines, I would get my poems and stories published. So at that time, say around 9 or 10 years old, I thought, okay, I'll grow up and be a writer. So that was the first let's say the first time the dream of being a writer came about. But what happened as I grew up, and those days we didn't have as many options today. Like we have so many Indian writers now, we have so many ways to publish. When we were small, we only read foreign authors, so it didn't look like a possible career at that time. So I went on to do my MA in psychology. I worked actually 8 years. I was in Tata Motors, I was in Hewlett Packard in human resources. Then my daughter was born in 2007, and I took almost 3-year break from my work. And then when I thought, okay, after 3 years, I should join back work, I just didn't feel motivated. I thought, okay, anyway, there's a break. Let me ask myself, what is it I really want to do in my life? What is the dream? Because now it's like a second chance I'm getting. There's some dream, something I want to do. And then it's like, I still remember that moment well. I was just asking myself this question for 2-3 days, and suddenly the answer came from somewhere. It said, writer, to be a writer. And then you won't believe, I totally forgotten about Pika Nani, about all my dream of being an author. Life, you forget it as you grow up. Everything came back to me. It was like the whole flash. And I thought, oh my God, if I have carried this dream with me for so many years and it's been there somewhere in some part of my heart, that to be a writer, I think I should give it a shot. So I thought, okay, let me give myself 6 months. And if I'm able to start writing, it's fine. Otherwise, I will go back to looking for a job. And funnily, almost like, I think it was almost the end of 6 months when I got an idea. And that idea formed my first book. I can show it here. It's called Little Indians, Stories from Across the Country. They are based on my own travels. So right from when I was a small child, I used to travel to different parts of India. So one of the story, what happens in that actually happened. There's something called apple Ganesha. So you must have heard some of these fruits and vegetables. Sometimes they grow a sprout and they look like something. So in our house, we had an apple which kind of had like a trunk. It looked like a trunk, so it looked like a Ganesha. So, and then the word spread and everybody, neighbors all started coming and praying to that. So that whole episode, I kind of framed it into a story. And that was my first story actually, which I wrote. And then I got the idea that let me write stories from different parts of India. So I started writing. I started thinking of the idea and writing. But then, again, because I've worked so many years and so many different things and was slightly out of touch, it was becoming difficult. And I kept thinking that, am I doing the right thing? Is this, you'll always go back to your safety, right? To go back and go back to the job. That's when I thought, no, if I keep having self-doubt like this, I'll never be able to write. I'll never be able to finish the book. That's when I was, actually Googling what to do. And then somewhere I saw that using a pen name helps. So I thought, yes, maybe it's time to start a new chapter of my life and then dedicate it to the little child who had the dream to be a writer. And so when I think, started using the pen name Pika Nani, and that's what I used even for writing the book. It really helped me. I think then the story just flowed and I was able to write the book completely. So when it got published also, and I got it published under Pika Nani. So that has been my journey. So the initial one as a child and then like a reawakening or whatever you call it as an adult. So that has been the journey.
I'm sorry, my screen froze for a couple of seconds.
Okay.
And I really like from Deepika, but Nani, is it from the grandmother thing that we call, we call our grannies Nani?
No, it was Rani, Deepika Rani. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Wow.
And in Kannada also, that could be one reason. Kannada is my mother tongue. For me, the word is Nanu. So it could be that also. When somebody asks what's your name, I was saying like you're saying myself, Deepika. I don't know. So apparently when I was small, that anybody would ask me my name, that's what I would say. So that's how it became my pen name.
Oh, cute. And seriously, वो कहते हैं ना पूत के पैर पालने में दिखने लग जाते हैं. तो जिस टाइम पे बच्चे एक्चुअली लिखना सीख रहे होते हैं, you have already started writing over that time. But yes, life वो भुला भी देते और वापस याद भी ला देते. So that's how we grow. So another question I have for you: who do you draw inspiration from? What are you current working on and looking forward to work on future?
My inspiration when I was small was my father. As I said, he would also, he would write in Kannada, so stories, and he had a play which also got staged somewhere. So that was my inspiration initially. Obviously there were a lot of authors who would inspire. Enid Blyton, small, and as we grew up, R.K. Narayan, and even J.K. Rowling actually, because she became such a big sensation. It became cool to be an author again. And then the inspiration actually again for the second time I think was my daughter, because probably if she wasn't there, I would have just continued, in my corporate life, would have just gone off there. I think in a way she helped me reconnect with my own childhood and brought back all those childhood memories and dreams. Those were my inspirations. You were asking about currently what I'm working on.
Yes.
So so recently I have signed a contract, and the book though should be out in 2022, but it's a set of mysteries for smaller kids, so around 7+ years, and I'm just beginning to work on that, and it's very exciting.
Wonderful. So you're more into like, what's your genre of writing? So are you more into stories or kind of novels or?
Yeah. So first book which was there, it was Little Indians, was like short stories from different parts of our country, and plus it had a lot of facts also. So it was like a fact plus fiction book. For my second book, again, I didn't want to keep writing about India itself. I wanted to try another genre. So I tried mystery. So I have, obviously everyone has heard of Sherlock Holmes. So I had in Indian version called Sherlock. So it's Adventures of Sherlock Holmes. So there are 2 books in that, book 1 and book 2. It's basically somewhat like Sherlock Holmes and Dr. Watson. So there is Sherlock and Rohan. They are detectives in Mumbai. In fact, he's a chai wala turned detective. So that was something new for me to try. Also, I grew up in Mumbai, so that's how I set the story there. And all the 3 books were for 10+ years. Then last year in 2022, 2 books got released. That is for 3+ years. It's part of books called Feelings. So when I'm feeling bored and when I'm feeling sad, those were for very small children. So like picture books. And now what I'm writing is, again, I'm going back to mystery, but this is for, again, slightly younger, 7+ years age group. So I like to keep trying different age group, write different genres also. Right now, mystery seems to be the favorite, but in the future, let me see. I don't know. So sometimes it depends on what ideas also come. And I've always loved mystery, by the way. I was a big fan of Sherlock Holmes and Agatha Christie. So I'm reliving that through my books now. So as I said, this next year is set. After that, I don't know. I think I don't plan too much about my next book. But this thing is going to keep me occupied for 1 year now.
So when we don't plan, God plans for us.
Yes.
Even when we forget about things.
Yeah.
So, ma'am, I'd really like to say I'm also a mother, and I completely agree to what you're writing is absolutely for this age group, because they are mysterious. They want to learn new things. They are more of, we'll find detectives in all the houses.
Yeah.
Every home have a detective who's your little child and roaming around looking for and sneaking for mysteries, and wonderful choice of writing mysteries.
Thank you.
I actually salute the mystery writers, because how do you guys get that creativity? Now, my similar question to this is, what is most difficult part of your artistic process? Like, how?
I think that's a very nice question, actually. So, because you think of it, the entire journey of a book begins with an idea. And sometimes you might have a very brilliant idea, but when you start writing it, that's, you start wondering, is it going to work or no? So I think this works for anything. Let's say somebody wants to start their own business, or they're starting something new, their own venture. The starting trouble, we call it, or the initial struggle is always more. I think once you're set into it, or once you started it, it's okay. But when before starting is, so for me, the most challenging part is that. Let's say I have an idea now for mystery. So when I start writing it, I may think, oh, is this good? Are these characters good enough? Do I need someone else? So that takes up some time. And also, once we have, so usually the publisher sometimes can come in the middle itself. So it's not like I write the entire book and then approach a publisher. Now, suppose I have an idea and then I have an outline of the book. So I approach the publisher and they give me the contract for the book. So also in that part, I have to see, how do I convince the publisher that this is going to be a good book, that this idea is good enough for them to give me a contract. Those initial days before the starting of the book is, I think, challenging, because one, you have to be very sure yourself that yes, book is going to work, because it's going to take minimum of say 6 months, sometimes a year, for the book to actually come out. So you have to dedicate that much time. So is the idea worthy enough of so long, of yours, that much time and effort? And then is this something, because obviously without starting to work, you can't convince a publisher. So maybe you work on it for 1 or 2 months or 3 months, then you approach the publisher. So then you have to ask it, is it, like, how do I convince them? Do you think this will work? Those initial jitters are, a lot. And once you start writing somewhere, it sort of flows. I mean, so obviously there will be some days when there are writer blocks and stuff, but that is still manageable. But the initial starting part, the whole artistic process, where I was telling you earlier also, that initially it's just entire creativity. And then there is structure. So once the structure is there, it's still easier to work on. But initially, when it's completely just you and your ideas, so that part is challenging, really. Pooja,
I forget to unmute myself.
Yeah.
Okay. So do you think every writer face this challenge, or once they have some image created, like after you have posted or written, say, 5-7 books which are good readers, people are enjoying, getting appreciated, then these challenges are, then you can easily overcome these challenges showing your past record? Does that work?
See, convincing publisher would become easier, but what will still be tough is what new can you give to the reader? How? Because with each book, the expectations will go higher. So you have to keep thinking, how with each new book, what new can I bring? How can I be better? How can I entertain them more? How can I just get more people to read? So I think even might be something most authors also feel, especially during the initial part of it. But yeah, as you said, if a famous author would probably get signed on by a publisher much easily. Even for me, I mean, the first book was quite a struggle, so I had to approach a lot of publishers. But by the second, third book, it was still, because I was an author by then, known author, so it was still comparatively easier. So I guess that part is easier, but it's always a thing that what new can I write? What new can I bring into this world, I guess.
Right. And nowadays we have social media, which is impacting our life so much. And if I'll say, as a layman, as a normal person, maybe only 100 people know me. But when we go to social media, a lot of people are your friends, you get follows and all. Now I'm talking about a normal person like me. But a celebrity, or as a writer, or as an author, people are looking towards you. They are looking at your social media channels. They are they want to, once they check the book, they go through the book, they want to see what are the updates, what's happening. So how social media is impacting your life?
Yeah, I think earlier, you think of it when we were small, would we even think of even seeing or meeting our authors? No, even forget the foreign ones, the ones from other countries, but even say Ruskin Bond. We would read stories of his books and all we would read. But we've never even dreamed that we could see him ever, So, but today it's very different. Those barriers are gone. A reader can directly reach out. Hello?
Yes, we are connected. Don't worry.
So a reader can directly reach to the author. An author can directly reach to their readers, and through it's all because of social media. Though actually, I have been slightly slow to get on to social media, but obviously last year, what happened? I think it because of pandemic, it forced all of us to go online. So in the beginning of the pandemic, there was this whole group of writers who came together. We did this online storytelling session called Thoda Reading Corona. Because what happened, children were staying at home, schools got cancelled, they couldn't go out and play, they were all stuck at home. So we thought, and obviously parents were worried they'd just spend watching TV and cartoons. So we wanted to do something for the children, at the same time, try to give a boost to their reading habit. So a bunch of our authors, especially children's authors, came together and we did this Thoda Reading Corona, where we narrated one of our stories. We read it out, and I think that was a huge success. And later on, there was this library in Jaipur, which I had an interaction with those people. So otherwise, last year or even now, it was not possible to actually travel everywhere and meet the readers. But I think it has given a platform where sitting anywhere, like I'm sitting in Bangalore, your viewers could be from anywhere, right? So it has, and I think, I need to see how I could use it really to my advantage. I don't post as regularly, but I think, yes, after 2020, it is, I think, time most of us should get onto this medium and use it for the good.
हम लोग बोलते हैं ना, कुछ बुरा होता है तो अच्छा होता है, अच्छा होता है तो बुरा होता है, the pros and cons of everything. So जो डिजिटल इंडिया वाला ड्रीम हमारे माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी देख रहे थे, अचानक से कोरोना के आते ही वो पूरा हो गया.
Correct.
So that was kind of a shortcut to digital India. But yes, of course, that pandemic was not a good thing and still not good because it's rising. But yes, I would still say there are a lot of positive things that we have learned from this COVID situation. We have outgrown that COVID situation so well.
Yes.
So, ma'am, as you have mentioned about social media, and that the tagline I really liked, thoda reading corona.
Yeah.
So how huge was the success of this campaign?
Oh, it was huge. A lot of mainstream media, newspapers and all carried articles about this. Everybody shared, all reading groups, libraries shared these links, and we had a huge viewership. I think even today, if you use the hashtag Thoda Reading Corona, it's Corona C, like, as a play on the word Corona, the coronavirus. So Corona, sorry, Thoda Reading Corona hashtag, I think it really went viral. We had some of the it started with the really famous children writers, and then we all continued. I think we almost went on for a month. So 30 days or more than that many authors. Every day, somebody or the other read a story and posted it. So it was a huge success, actually.
Wonderful. I would go back to my social media channels and check for this Thoda Reading Corona, and I'm going to give it to the kids around me in my neighborhood and my children, that guys, see what's trending. Because nowadays they look for what's trending. They are least bothered what's real, and somehow we have lost the the link or the wall between real and virtual.
Yes.
We are living both the lives together.
Yeah.
Like, we are having a virtual meeting right now, sitting in front of each other.
Yeah.
And I think I'm sitting in Mohali and you're sitting in Bangalore, so far off, but it's a virtual thing, but looks so real.
Yeah, I know.
Ma'am, I have...
Thanks to all this, at least we have this, Otherwise, I think during the whole lockdown, we would have been totally shut off, right? So because of this, at least we have a way to keep touch, to be connected with, say, our readers, or for you to be connected with your audience. So
honestly, we rather got connected to more people
Yeah.
because earlier we were so busy in office,
Ah, correct.
office, home,
Yeah.
family. But then during this COVID situation, we got
Hmm.
time to look for ourselves, time to look at people whom we have never met in past 10, 15 years.
Ah, correct.
And then on social media, chalo, social media ही सही या online virtual ही सही, at least we got connected.
Yeah.
It is such a great feeling.
Yeah. I think
So
Vidyadaan also has done a lot of work in this, right? For
yes, we
just,
have done around 250 webinars during this lockdown's time,
hmm,
and we did workshops. We even Media and Entertainment Skills Council came up with creative audio programs. That's
yeah.
these programs are starting from school level for the kids of
Hmm.
sixth standard and plus, because that's a very tender age for
Hmm.
them. If they decide their career in that age, then they have, you know, time to prepare for it.
Hmm.
All of a sudden, when you're already in your 90s and 20 years old, and then you decide कि अब मुझे ये करना है, तो वो थोड़ा टाइम लगता है कि वो पिछले 4-6 साल जो थे उसमें कुछ कुछ किया होता तो अभी काफी हो जाता.
Yeah.
So to bring kids on track
Yeah.
and of course to spread the information about media and entertainment, we have started this drive. And Vidyadaan also we have done with over 150 gurus have already given sessions on our platform.
Very
And
nice.
we're really, really honored to have people like you and, big people coming to meet us.
No, no, it's my pleasure to be here.
Wonderful. So, ma'am, now, how do you want your stories or your mysteries to impact the student's life? I'm calling it students because at the age of 7 or 10, they are students.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the first level of impact, the more general, what I would really wish for is that more and more people should read books written by Indian authors. There's a whole group of us who write in English, but we write about our children now. So we write about, it could be someone like, one of our readers. So it could be a child in Mumbai, it could be someone in Bangalore, it could be about someone in one of the villages of India, from a small city. So when you read stories written by other authors from other countries, obviously you get a window into their world. But when you read books written by Indian authors, it's like a mirror to yourself, to your own world, to your own society. Like if you're writing, say, about a particular apartment complex, it could be like the one you are staying in. If you're writing about a certain Indian family, or like maybe a typical Indian market, so these are all things which you have seen. So what I really would want is more and more children to read books by Indian authors, and for Indian authors to get that recognition. That is the biggest, the most general level of impact that I'd like to have. That as time goes by, people realize the value of Indian writers. Obviously, Indian writers in regional language, Indian writers who write in English. That is one. The second impact, I think, is I'm slightly on the books. So first one, my first book, as I said, it's called Little Indians. It has stories from across the country. The whole idea was to give, say, a child who's in, say, Bangalore or Mumbai, to give an idea of how, say, life is in Assam or Arunachal Pradesh or Pondicherry. So these are, I've written stories from all different parts of India. So to say that, okay, in a way, these children lead very different lives, but at the core, they're all same. After all, they're all children. They're all like you. It is to introduce them to our beautiful, diverse country. That was the impact of that. For Sherlock Holmes, it was slightly different. So I was, as I told you, I'm a fan of Sherlock Holmes. So Sherlock Holmes now almost completed 100 years, more than 100 years. And there are Sherlock Holmes avatars, you can say, or versions in various countries. There's a Canadian Sherlock Holmes, there's a Sherlock Sam in Singapore. There are Sherlock Holmes based characters in various countries, but there wasn't any in India. So I thought, why don't we have a detective like that, but who's very like a typical Indian boy, but who solves crimes like Sherlock Holmes. So that, when a reader reads, who has read probably the other variations of Sherlock Holmes, if they read my book, they say, "Oh, good, we finally have an Indian Sherlock Holmes," so that they feel happy with that when they read that. Again, as I said, the first book was set in Mumbai. In the second book, Rohan and Srilok, they travel to different places. In fact, you can see they travel to London to solve a case. So if foreign detectives can come to India and solve cases, why can't our detectives go there and solve a case? So they go to London and solve the case. They go to different parts of India, 2-3 different cities, and solve cases. So is that the whole? But I think the basic impact we'd really want is for there to be more focus on India and Indian children's literature, and and obviously authors also. So.
All right, wonderful. And how about your other work, as in the imagination? Does it happen that you have a book, maybe the first one that you've said, the Little Indians,
Yeah.
and after printing the book, you get more ideas like, oh, I might have added this or that, or must have done this. So how do you get that situation? And if yes, and then how do you manage it?
I think that would happen. So once the book finally comes, I don't read it immediately. What happens is just before it gets published, we keep reading and editing it. We go through it so many times. You can almost wake me up in the middle of the night. I can probably say the whole thing by heart. So usually, moment it releases, the book releases, you're so busy with the promotions and everything. And but usually more than thinking that what could have been better, sometimes I'm amazed that, oh, I had this idea, and especially because that was in 2013. Now each story was about places I have traveled. I might have forgotten my trips also, but I read it, I say, oh yes, I'd been here and this had happened. So but yeah, that feeling, as you said, is more in the first book, maybe first or second book, where you think, I think by the time the third or fourth book, you accept it that yes, I think it's for any creative work. You always feel you could have improved. But important point is that when it goes for publishing, when it's finally done, you're happy with it. You say, yes, I'm happy with it. And then we send it for publishing. And then there are a lot of other people involved. There's an editor. There are 2-3 editors who are involved, who go through your work. And then there are, if there's any changes they suggest. So you get the viewpoint of different people, including, obviously, I get my family members to read it. My husband and daughter are my usually first readers. But then they have an impartial view, the editors. So by the time it finally comes out as a final product, I think you can be pretty confident about that.
Right. I have a wonderful question from Achal.
Okay.
Achal is asking what strategies you would suggest, madam, to arouse interest among students to instill the skill of writing. Because nowadays everyone is just copying and pasting and nobody wants to write.
Strategies, are you talking specifically of creative writing, or is it?
Yeah, creative writing, of course. Like anything writing, this is what I have also faced with my kids. They do not want to write. They're okay with the laptop and,
Yeah.
Mama, it's okay. We'll type it here and take a printout. But that art of writing, and then of course the creativity that needs to be there in like when we were kids, we used to write essays and paragraphs and stories. Nowadays, how do you think we can instill in that skill?
So there are a few strategies, but I think most importantly, especially creative writing. That's why I asked the difference. Is creative writing should also be seen as something fun. If it's seen as something they have to do, or if it's kind of pushed on them, that will not work with creativity. So one thing is it should be something fun. So maybe if they're just starting out, you can ask them to write about topics which they like. Say it could be so I would do writing workshops. So many of them like writing about say some superhero. So if you tell them write a story about superhero, they might. Right? Or if you say write they all like a lot of these horror stories. I was surprised. So something like that. And also, see, there are certain children who naturally good at language. Some will not be. For them, what I usually suggest is, draw like a cartoon, draw your characters, draw illustrations, and also write the story. So if they don't not comfortable with just writing words, so you start out by doing that. Maybe what you can do is get them to write it either on A4 sheets, or make it like a book. Just staple those book pages together, so that once they've written a story, it could be anything. Once they've written a story, it look like a book. You can ask them. Usually, another way to get them interested is tell them that think of a topic for your book and prepare a cover page. Like a front page of the book. And so once they do that, they'll be interested. They'll be excited because they have already the cover of their book. So they'll be interested now to write their book. Then you say, okay, now write the story and bring it, at home. I feel even for teachers, I'd say initially to give it as a weekend assignment at home, like they can do that and come. Another good thing is, say, in summer vacation or anywhere, if they're traveling earlier, if they would travel somewhere or they would do something in summer vacation, to write it as a journal or a diary. So actually, journal writing or diary writing is a very good way to write, because that is something you have to have a book. So this is something I would tell parents also, probably get a really nice diary for them, or let them choose a really nice book, which looks very attractive. They feel like writing, and then let them write. It doesn't have to be like a daily basis, but anything special happened. Let's say they had a birthday party, or they won a match, or they went somewhere, they had some fun. So they can write those things. So that journal writing and diary writing is one way where it will promote your general, writing ability. And then for creative writing, as I said, it has to be fun for them to do that. Otherwise, it's difficult to spark creativity. So give them topics which they really love, and then make it as a book. So, especially for smaller children, if they make it like a book and then they go and show their parents that, Mummy, Papa, I've written this book. Even it could be something small, and I'm sure parents will be appreciative. So that way, I think, instead of you give them one topic and say, okay, write a story of this many words in this much time, initially it'll be difficult. I mean, later on for older students, probably it works. But I hope some of these tips will help.
I am personally going to try this. I'm sure it will work. I'm sure. Ma'am, another question which is coming to my mind, like you have said, set your character or make a cover, right? When you said make a cover, that means there is some character or some object that is in focus.
Yeah.
How do you decide on that character or focus?
See, I generally believe a good story or book begins with a character more than the story itself. See, sometimes you might not have the story. I'll give the example of Srilok Homeless itself. Srilok Chaiwala was the character which came to my mind first. A detective who's like Sherlock Holmes, who solves cases, and who's a chaiwala from Mumbai. So that character formed in my mind first, and then I got the ideas for the different cases. So most of the stories for most people will start with a character, some starting point. Usually when we do a book, the cover is done much later. I mean, obviously the artist who does it comes in much later, after the book is written. But just to spark that interest, I thought, when children are writing it, and if they have an idea and if they have a certain character in mind, they could draw that or design that. Or it could be, if they've decided they will write a story of a particular place of their hometown, they could draw that. So usually cover is again an input by the author, the editors and artists. So three people are involved in this. So they give us the input of what cover might work, what colors work, and then we give an input of what we want on the cover. So that whole design team of the publisher actually is involved when we do a cover. Obviously, this is because it's for sale, because it's going to be in bookstores. It has to be something that attracts people's attention, right? The colors and everything. But obviously, if children are doing it, you can always do a cover. Then if you've written the story fully, and if you feel you need just change the cover, you can always draw something else. So, but then character is, I think, one good place to start.
So setting the character and setting the location.
Yes.
are two main pillars of your story?
Yes. So for any story, and I keep telling them this parts of a story. So when I do a story workshop, obviously there's the theme or the idea. Then there is the setting. Setting is not just the city or the place. Setting is also, are you writing in the present? Are you writing about past? Some is the story set in some older time? Is it set somewhere in the future? So that is the setting.
Okay.
Then characters. Characters, initially you just need the main characters. Who is your main character? Because see, when you read a book, right, when you're reading it, you start putting yourself in position of the main character. So the character has to be something that connects with the reader. If not, you know that how much ever great your story or your language or whatever, it won't work. So character, and then there's the plot. Now plot is what the technicality of telling initially. The whole structure. Basically, I think the most simplest way I think teachers teach is plot has a beginning, a middle, and the end. Right. So the beginning starts by introducing the characters. The middle is when all the action happens, and ending is again you slowly tie back all the loose ends and finish the story. Um, so if you're asking about the process, obviously it starts with the main idea or the theme, and then the character, because usually when you think of a character you also think of the setting, but sometimes setting might not be so clear, and at that point I don't go into descriptions, like I don't have to describe Mumbai city at that point. I can just decide, okay, it's going to be in Mumbai, and then obviously you have the character, and then you decide the story, and that's where the technicality comes in, where you decide, okay, how is the story going to be? It's going to be divided into chapters. How long is each chapter going to be? What will be the content of each chapters? And then you have a overall like a story outline, which is the structure. And then obviously with each, as you keep writing, you keep building the character of the main characters. I mean, their personality and their traits, and what do you say? Like Srilok, for example, his main character personality was like he drinks a lot of tea because he's a chai wala. And so when he says, like, if you've seen Sherlock Holmes, what he says, so this guy says, ekdam right bhidu. Now, so Sherlock will say, okay, right, Watson, or, elementary, dear Watson. So obviously we can't have Chaiwala saying elementary and all. So then that's why he says, ekdam right, bhidu. And he uses a lot of certain words like that. So that is his character, that is, and then you see how he reacts to various situations of the story. So these are the various threads. But when any person writes, whether you're writing a short story, a child is writing a short story, or a grown up is writing their first novel, I think these are the parts you have to remember. So first is the theme, setting, character, and obviously the plot. And the plot arc, we call it an arc because it goes like start like this and goes like that. So basically, it means you begin with something and you go to the very interesting part, and then it's like even in a mystery, you start with a regular day, then suddenly something happens, right? And then slowly in the end, the detective will then slowly reveal everything that happened.
Okay, so it's actually very, very technical thing, because starting, closing, the climax, the theme,
Yeah.
the setting, or your characters, the character of the characters, like of course for a girl, it's too much of work.
No, so that's why when I do these workshops, I tell children to start with short stories. See, short stories are easy. You'll maximum have some 2-3 characters. That's all. It'll be a simpler story, and the setting also won't change too much. So I think to begin with, so even my first book was short stories from 15 states. So each story was like a story by itself, and I think that way, if you start, there has to be some starting point. So.
Yeah. Absolutely. And with the starting point thing, before I move ahead to my next question, I would like to take your permission to release our monthly magazine, Media TalkBack, virtually.
Yeah, I was waiting for this actually. Yeah, it's very excited.
Okay, so with your permission, let's
Yeah.
launch the magazine.
Yes.
So it's focused on the art of writing.
Yes, I'd heard of this right from when it was beginning. Wow. Clap.
Thank you. And ma'am, I would like to inform everybody about the latest edition of Media Talkback, the art of writing and storytelling. This focuses on creative spirit of human mind. The new edition offers the opportunity to grab insights from most prominent names of writing and storytelling industry. To start with, I'd like to name Mr. Jonathan Marbury, New York's best-selling author and five times Bram Stoker Award winner. Mr. Anjum Rajabali, a very well-known screenplay writer. Miss Pabali Chaudhary, Ms. Ruby Dhal, Ms. Arpana Atharya, Miss Indira Chandrasekhar, Ms. Lauren Bowman, Ms. Nidhi Agarwal, Ms. Medha Sharma, Ms. Megha Rao, Ms. Shilpa Goyal, Ms. Vinati Bhola, Mr. Khwaja Mustaq, Mr. Mohit Wadhwa, Ms. Urmila Thor, Miss Vishali Shroff, Miss Mukti Masi, Punar Mrityu, and last but not the least, the personality who's sitting with us, Miss Deepika Murthy, Urf Pika Nani. So this is going to be very exciting uh, magazine for all the readers because it covers a lot of things that are actually getting forgetted. जब हम लैपटॉप लेके बैठते हैं we just do copy and paste, but that art of writing must be with everybody. If you cannot even write stories, at least you should be able to write the basic things. So thank you so much for being a part of our magazine also. I'll move ahead to my next question, please.
Yes, sure.
uh, what are the top platforms you think uh, currently available to promote your work?
This you're saying as somebody who's already written a story,
Yeah,
or
like if say I have written a story, I have a book published. Now, how do I promote it?
so if you have already published a book, there are various ways. Obviously, the online channels of, say, Facebook, there are a lot of Facebook lives and all that goes on. There are groups, there are a lot of these library and book reading clubs that happen, which has, like, there's something called the Reading Raccoons, which has a huge a group of basically parents who want their children to read, like an online book club. So many such ones. There's one more called Book Daughters Book Club. I think till 1 or 2 years ago, they were, basically for their own city. Now I think most of them have thrown up, and they're all online. They're thrown up for digital media. So those groups are a nice way to promote. And obviously there is social media. The other way, which I have found more effective, is used to be school visits. So because see, when I write for children, say below 13 years, above 13, they'll be on social media. Below 13, you won't really meet them as such, on online also. So only the parents you could speak to. So what I would really do is we go to various schools, and the schools will also like to call authors, talk to the students, and then that's when you get to meet your readers directly. So school visits are a great opportunity, and also now there are so many literature festivals. Because of these literature festivals, I could go. I have been to Dehradun, Kanpur, Mumbai, in addition to obviously Bangalore. And I remember when I had gone to Kanpur. So one of my stories is in a textbook. Three of my stories actually are in textbooks. So one of them was in that class, which was, I think, it's the fifth standard. So they had already read my story in the textbook. So they were very happy to see somebody whose stories, they have studied actually, is actually there in front of them. And I was very happy because I knew it has come in a textbook. I didn't know the reach of it. So when I saw these kids, they said, oh, we even made a project of it. And, we really liked that chapter. So it felt really nice. So I think as an author, you should try to use what all platforms are available. If you're a first time author, then yeah, I would also suggest a lot of these bloggers. You can start by blogging somewhere probably, and also try to be in all of these book clubs, so that when you write your book, you can post it there also. So basically to create awareness. And I think maybe this year actual school visits and all will not be possible, But again, even schools have gone virtual. So even they are doing literature festivals online.
Yes.
So all those platforms are there for authors and would-be authors.
Wonderful. Ma'am, there are platforms available now. Looking at this as a career, okay, do you think it's safe? Is it safe to choose poetry as a profession in today's world?
I see this can't be, I mean, in being very frank, this can't be your only source of income. No, because most of them have a regular day job. Most of the authors either have a regular day job and they write, or some people like us who do write full time. Then the whole, we are not then worried about providing for the family. So that way, because because my husband, I think I can probably do the whole full time writing. I know it'll be difficult to juggle, especially for women, they'll juggle the house and work and writing.
uh, Ma'am, you're
Yeah.
not audible.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Yes,
You
I
heard?
can hear you.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is, to be a full-time poet, a full-time writer, it's not really a viable career option. If you think of it as, okay, I'm going to earn money from there, you can get a lot of fame, you'll get a lot of people following you, you'll have a lot of readers. But unless you can sell books, the millions of books that say Sudha Murthy sells or Ruskin Bond sells, unless you can touch those millions of books numbers, or even Chetan Bhagat for that matter, I think till you become at that level, it's good to have some sort of a day job or some sort of thing where you can fall back on. Otherwise, it's not because see, you don't know. You can write, you have written a book, don't know next book when you'll write and if it'll get published or no, and all that. So just relying only on that can be tough.
Okay. So, but that is satisfying for your soul, no?
Yes, it is. So I think even those who write and who are in, they'll be in some related field, like they could be teaching, creative writing, which is also good. Or they could be bloggers or writing for some websites or magazines, again, which is in their skill set, and it's also creative. So I think this is what I'd say for students: if you want to take up writing as a career or writing or poetry, that choose a paying job which is also related to that field, so that if they both are slightly related, it will work out, I think. And once maybe you're slightly established, then you could be a full-time author or a poet.
Okay, wonderful. Any suggestion that you like to give to these aspiring writers? Also, I have one more question from the live audience. Is there any ideal age of students to develop the art of creative writing?
Ideal age, I won't say. See, when children start reading books on their own, I think till 6 years old, their parents read aloud to them, right? So once they start writing, I think maybe is it third or fourth standard, when they start writing paragraphs and small essays. First of all, by then at least they would have that much grammatical knowledge to form sentences and paragraphs. Basically, that's what is needed. I think the first stories children write would just have 3 paragraphs: the beginning, middle, and end. Very small children have a lot of creativity, extremely creative, right? Um, Putting that creativity into words, I think the sooner we start is the better. So I don't think I can say a particular age, because it probably depends from children to children. But even it doesn't have to be like a huge story that they write. Even something like a comic, what I was saying, like a comic book or a small story, some imaginative thing they can do. Or even if they can just create a character, like just tell them, okay, why don't you create a superhero and write what what will be his strength, what will he do, is there any problem he'll solve, and then you already have a story there. So the moment they are able to write, I think, when maybe once they're able to write sentences and write paragraphs, you can introduce creative writing to them. So then I think that will nurture their creativity also, and it will keep them especially I think in these kind of times, he'll actually make you happy to do something creative.
Right. And last question, like I think with this life question, I got mixed with my question.
That's okay.
I didn't want to miss this one. So the last word to aspiring writers who would like to write on either poetry or book, mystery, fiction, whatever. But what's your word to them so that they are motivated and look for the success?
First thing I like to say is have a belief in yourself, believe in your idea. Because only if you believe in yourself, will others believe in you. Like your story you're going to write, or your whatever you're writing, poem that you're going to write, it has to come from somewhere from your heart. So, I'm talking of all technicalities and everything, but ultimately, what really works is has to come from your heart. And then think that how will it connect with the reader? No, will it? Because there are certain things like, as you said, mystery or anything like something emotional, will always connect to readers. So you think of then what can I write? What can I do that will connect to the reader? Basically, ultimately, that's what is matters. So how much ever what you might study, you can find various courses online for creative writing. You will find many tips about how to write, and I myself have spoken to you about parts of the story, and about how to work your idea into a story. All that will happen, but just make sure that whatever you write from your heart, and then it will touch the reader's heart. Okay, that's one thing. And second, have confidence in yourself. It happens in, I think, many fields, but mainly it happens in writing also, that there could be rejections. You write a book, or you write in this, maybe you publish it online, and then don't have that many readers, or you feel it's not sold so many copies, or you feel, oh, nobody's reading. Don't get disheartened by that. So have faith in yourself, be confident, and if that is your dream, then I think just go for it. I think Walt Disney has said this well: if you can dream it, you can do it. So just keep that in mind. And so I want to wish all the aspiring authors and poets all the best. I was once in your place, and just keep on going, and one day you'll be here getting interviewed probably.
Wonderful, wonderful, really. With this, ma'am, I'd really like to thank you for giving us your time on the World's Poetry Day, Sunday morning.
Yeah, you were such a wonderful host, and you have asked such wonderful questions. I really enjoyed this session. Thank you
Thank you
so
so
much.
much, ma'am. It's all my team. It's all the teamwork that I get. I got today. I got questions from my team member Nupur, and yes, it's
So you
all a
won't believe, this
teamwork.
was
We
my
work
first
together.
Zoom call. This was my first online session. I've been avoiding it because I like to do the face-to-face thing. But then I said, okay, no. Finally, when Nupur called me, I said, okay, fine, no, I should say yes. So this is actually my first Zoom session.
Wonderful, ma'am. Now that this COVID has changed a lot. Now we are social. Now everybody says stay social distant. Now we are doing distant socializing. So thank you so much for spending your 1 hour with us on Sunday morning. Take care and stay safe. That's all I can say. Thank you for your interview also in the Media Talk Back. It really means a lot. And guys, do get your copies of Media Talk Back from mescindia.org/media talk back. You can download your e-copies for free. Okay. And yes, do give us the feedback. Do let us know what sessions do you want in future. If you will suggest us the name of the speaker or the name of the topic or the subject that you want to hear about, we'll be there. We'll try our best to bring those people in front of you. And let's hope for the corona to really go. Now,
Yeah.
reading corona, and please go corona.
Yeah.
So with this, take care, enjoy your Sunday, but don't go out. Take care, enjoy at home. See you all in the next session. Take care.